In a dystopian near-future Europe, a severe crisis leaves people without necessities. The totalitarian regime of not enough at all takes control, exterminating the elderly, pregnant women, and children. Some countries resist, including Ireland, Iceland, and Norway, where people seek refuge. Nico and his pregnant wife Mia flee, aided by a smuggler as they dash through containers at the local harbor in search of escape. As they flee, Nico and Mia encounter obstacles, a dog in their path, helicopter lights, and demanding smugglers. Desperate to escape, they give their wedding rings to one of the smugglers. In the back of a truck, they join other refugees, women with children, and even a dog. Mia worries about her unborn baby, but Nico guides her to the spot where the child constantly kicks. As a small token of appreciation, he gives Mia a Snickers bar that he's been saving to enjoy once they reach Ireland. Mia watches other children in the truck, feeling guilty because she and Nico had to leave their first child behind. Nico reminds her that the military took their child away, so she is no longer alive. After a few hours of driving, the truck stops to pick up more refugees. The vehicle becomes overcrowded, prompting the smuggler to split the group of women and children in one vehicle and men in another. Despite Nico's attempts to explain that he was previously with his wife, he is ignored and taken away. Mia can only glimpse Nico through a hole in the door. She calls him on her phone, and he reassures her that they'll be reunited later since both trucks are heading in the same direction. For now, she must conserve battery power and keep an eye on their belongings. Mia peers through a hole in the truck, her eyes wide with shock. The outside world reveals scenes of carnage, soldiers mercilessly shooting protesters, and women treated like cattle and hauled away in cages. When the truck reaches a checkpoint, it halts abruptly, and all the women scramble to the back. The driver presents paperwork to prove he's transporting goods, but the troops remain suspicious. Initially, they see only a few boxes, as the migrants are concealed behind a false wall. The leader, however, senses something amiss. He sends a soldier inside, instructing him to shoot at the side wall to reveal any hidden compartments. As the soldier complies, the leader detects the difference in distance and investigates further. Inside, he confronts the terrified women, demanding they come out. Mia, trembling, climbs atop the crates. Just then, another woman opens the false wall. In a terrifying turn, the leader swiftly kills her, and the other troops open fire on the entire group, splattering Mia with blood. As the ordeal unfolds, only the dog and a small child remain standing. The soldiers allow the dog to flee, but they mercilessly kill the child. Mia, heartbroken, sends a text to her husband, urging him to hide once they've left. Hours later, the truck reaches another port where the container is loaded onto a ship. Mia calls Nico, but he doesn't answer, so she leaves a voicemail about being taken away on the ship. As she settles in, a violent storm rocks the container, sailors rushing around outside through bullet holes. Amidst the chaos, Mia yells for help as the container shakes violently, causing her injuries. She eventually falls asleep after a hard crash. When she wakes up, water seeps in through the holes, revealing that the ship has sunk. All containers, including hers, drift in the open sea. Panicked, Mia tries to call Nico, but her damaged phone fails. She attempts another phone from her luggage, but can't recall the passcode. Desperate, she opens boxes, searching for anything useful while ensuring her unborn baby is safe. In her desperate situation, Mia scours the container for anything useful. Among plastic containers, televisions, drinks, and headphones, she discovers hoodies and puts one on. Gathering fallen items, including tape and a Swiss Army knife, she finds solace in a family photo from her diary. As screams echo, she peers through a hole and witnesses a sinking container with people inside. Desperate, she calls Nico's name and inserts her SIM card into a working phone, but receives no answer. The container sinks, leaving Mia in a state of nervous breakdown. She repeatedly tries the phone, hoping for a miracle. As night descends, Mia, desperate and holding a knife, contemplates ending it all, but then she feels the baby move, a sign of life. Determined to survive for her unborn child, she drifts off to sleep, listening to the haunting songs of distant wails. Suddenly, a shaky crate threatens her safety, but she narrowly avoids disaster. Water rushes in, and Mia fears drowning, only to wake from a nightmare. The tape has come undone, and water seeps in relentlessly. She ingeniously uses a box to support the hanging crate, revealing more plastic containers. Frustrated yet resourceful, she removes rubber from the lids to cover the lower holes. Then, she proceeds to retrieve a hose from one of the various boxes and inserts it into a different opening to facilitate the drainage of water. In addition, she positions 2 boxes against the wall to create a makeshift resting area, and she utilizes extra tape to mark the water levels as she counts down the days until it reaches the maximum limit. Mia hangs up the cords of her earbuds and suspends the pages from her diary to dry after making another attempt to use the phone. Next, she carefully assesses her available resources. Suddenly, Mia's phone receives a call from an unknown number, and upon answering, she realizes it's Nico. Nico explains that he couldn't respond earlier due to a battery failure, and he managed to survive because the other driver deceived them. Instead of taking them to the harbor as promised, the driver left the group stranded outside of town. Mia recounts the events that transpired to Nico, and he swears to rescue her. However, for the time being, Mia must conserve the battery and strive to survive for the sake of their child. Mia is struck by a contraction and pleads with her baby to hold off a little longer. She takes a moment to eat her sandwich and rearrange the crates. Suddenly, she notices an approaching storm and experiences another contraction, desperately hoping it's a false alarm. However, her hopes are swiftly dashed as the storm rolls in, violently shaking the container, confirming that the baby is indeed on its way. And just as her phone rings, it slips from her grasp. Left with no alternative, Mia removes her clothing and clings to the ropes of the crate, elevating herself as she gives birth to the baby in the ocean. Swiftly, she untangles the umbilical cord from around the baby's delicate neck and gently pats the baby's back. Afterward, Mia ascends onto a crate, holding onto the infant tightly, patiently waiting for the storm to subside. The following morning, Mia senses the placenta being expelled from her body and carefully preserves it in a plastic jar. She then tidies up to the best of her ability and places the baby in a small box, wrapping her in a sweater while she inspects her belongings. She manages to consume some canned food, but unfortunately, her phone has suffered water damage and is no longer operational. In the cramped container, Mia faces a relentless challenge: her wailing baby. Desperate, she drills holes in the ceiling, hoping for an escape route, but the noise only intensifies the baby's cries. Frustrated, Mia loses her temper and then quickly apologizes. Finally, she manages to feed the infant, her exhaustion driving her to consume whatever sustenance she has left. Mia's desperation grows. The drill's battery dies before she can finish drilling the ceiling. Inserting the SIM card into her original phone yields no results. Frustrated, she hurls her belongings in rage. The knife becomes her makeshift tool, but it hurts her hands. With no other options, she tends to the baby, soothing her overheated skin. Hunger gnaws at Mia as she struggles to sleep. Desperation drives Mia to consider consuming her placenta. As the whales sing outside, one collides with the container, startling the baby into crying. Mia's response, slamming the walls, terrifies the whale. The next morning, she tries again with the knife and the holes, but the knife breaks. With the phone still unresponsive, Mia drinks the last of the clean water. Disoriented from the heat, she resorts to seawater, throwing it on her head and licking water drops from the ceiling. Regrettably, this leads to Mia feeling unwell. Suddenly, her attention is captured by a paper plane descending onto her legs. At that moment, her eldest daughter appears, placing blame on Mia for the tragic demise of her grandmother at the hands of the soldiers. Overwhelmed with grief, Mia breaks down in tears, but Nico stands by her side, reminding her that it was not her fault. Mia finds solace upon waking up from her dream, as rain finally pours down and water trickles through the openings. Mia quenches her thirst by drinking some water and gathers as much as possible in plastic containers. Additionally, she seizes the can, but an epiphany strikes her when the lid snaps. Mia proceeds to thread the rope from the crates through the openings in the ceiling and exerts force downwards until she creates a hole that allows sunlight to filter in. Subsequently, Mia ascends to the top of the container and verifies that there is no sight of land. To enjoy some fresh air, she decides to sleep up there with the baby. When it comes time to change the baby, she discards the soiled hoodie into the lake, attracting a multitude of fish. This prompts Mia to rush and retrieve some rope and a piece of metal to commence fishing. However, no matter how hard she tries, Mia finds herself unable to catch even a single fish. Mia's desperation drives her to drastic measures. Spotting a passing jet, she rushes into the container, breaking a television and stealing a piece of its screen. Climbing back out, she injured her leg in haste. Ignoring the pain, she uses the screen to reflect sunlight, but the jet doesn't notice her. Disappointed, Mia returns inside, stitching her wound with wires and bits of metal. To ease the process, she turns to wine. Amidst hundreds of earbuds, she gets another idea, creating a net from the wires. She throws it into the sea with a soiled rag, finally catching some fish raw sustenance for her survival. In her desperate struggle for survival, Mia empties water from the container using a hose and catches fish with her makeshift net, storing them in plastic containers. She crafts SOS letters from pages torn out of her diary, placing them in containers and tossing them into the sea, hoping for rescue. One afternoon, she shares family photos with her baby, deciding to name the child Noah after her grandmother, the name Nico preferred. Mia also reveals a photo of her kidnapped sister, expressing her lingering guilt. As evening falls, Mia starts a fire using vodka and a lighter, sensing Noah's growing cold. In the dead of night, Mia hears a thud against the container wall. To her relief, it's just a plastic container. Her phone rings, and Nico's voice comes through a mix of relief and despair. He tried stealing a boat, but was caught and shot. Bleeding and hiding, he has little time left. Mia places the phone near Noah, letting Nico hear their baby's sweet sounds. As they exchange "I love yous," her battery dies, and the wind extinguishes the flames. Mia clings to a Snickers bar she vowed to save for the end. Rants and drawings cover the container walls, and water is dwindling. Day 26 looms, and desperation sets in. Mia's resourcefulness continues as she constructs a raft from cratewood, plastic containers, and rope. The seagulls visit, hints at land nearby. Later, she lights a fire and prepares a sail. When the container rumbles, Mia dives inside, spotting a Snickers bar, but her foot gets entangled in rope as the water pushes the raft away, and she fights to avoid drowning. Mia's desperate struggle reaches a turning point. She cuts the entangling rope with a piece of metal, escaping the sinking container. But panic sets in. Noah is missing. Following the baby's cries, Mia discovers her inside another container. Crafting SOS letters and using fish to attract seagulls, they catch the attention of a nearby boat. Noah is rescued, but Mia's life hangs in the balance. After intense efforts, she finally responds, and when they reach Ireland, a new beginning awaits. And the movie ends here.